It's June 15. Buenas tardes, bienvenidos a Charlas Tecnológicas y más, este miércoles 15 de junio. Thank you for being here. Today we will talk about school level transitions, going from elementary school to middle school. Esta tarde vamos a hablar acerca de transiciones de nivel escolar, yendo de primaria a secundaria. So we're going to give our participants a little bit of time to come in and then we'll get started. Vamos a darle tiempo a nuestras visitas, ¿verdad? Que nos acompañen y vamos a empezar. Mientras tanto, por favor, escoja inglés o español como el idioma en que desea escuchar esta presentación. Meanwhile, please choose English or Spanish as the language in which you will listen to this presentation. Thank you for being here. We know school is over, right? Classes ended last Friday, so we are happy that you're here with us today. Gracias por estar acá. Sabemos que las clases terminaron el viernes pasado, pero nos alegra que ustedes estén aquí acompañándonos este miércoles y también el próximo estaremos aquí con ustedes. Similarly, we will be here with you next Wednesday in our last Tech Talks and more of the year. So let us get started. So welcome again. Again, we have interpretation services. This time around, it's very important that you please choose English or Spanish and mute the original audio because our presentation will be in a bilingual format. So we want to make sure that you are able to listen to the whole presentation. Therefore, it is important that you choose English or Spanish. Esta vez vamos a tener la presentación en un formato bilingüe, así que es importante.
The presentation will be in a bilingual feature. It's important for you to choose English or Spanish in order to listen the presentation. Those who are English speakers will choose English only. So we'll start now. Thank you.
So this is a webinar, and in a webinar, we would love for you to participate, to give us your comments, your ideas, especially about this topic that we're going to talk about today. And in order to do that, we will need you to participate using the chat or the Q&A. So you're welcome to please interact with us and give us your ideas today. And for that, again, you the chat is accessible and also the Q&A. And just that you know, the Q&A can only be seen by the hosts and the panelists. So let's get started. Today, we're so, classes ended last Friday, but soon enough, it'll be a new school year, right? And then many of your children will go from not just from one grade level to another, but from one school level to another. So we're going to give you a little bit of heads up, right, about what to expect. In this presentation today, it will be about what to expect in middle school. So we're going to discuss some transitions, the important transitions that will happen to middle school students, and that will be the social transition or a procedural transition or the academic transition. So we'll talk about these topics. And we have with us some special guests that will help us understand and better know what these transitions are about because they have had children or are going to have children going to middle school. So we'll have Señora Maria Daisy Ortiz, who comes to us from Benjamin Franklin High School. She has long experience with her children going from one grade level to the other. She's from the Eagle Rock Highland Park Communities of Schools. We have Señora Rocio Elorza. She is a parent from Thomas Stark King Film and Media Magnet, and her child is currently in middle school. So she has already observed this process of transitioning from elementary to middle school. She comes to us from the Glassell Parcus Feliz Communities of Schools. And we have our own Alex Campbell, LDC PACE coach and proud parent of an LAUSD student. His child is just finishing up elementary, and then he will go into middle school. So Alex has a lot to learn today and give us insights about what to expect. So without further ado, we're going to then have Alex guide us in the next part of the presentation. Alex?
Thank you very much, Ms. Masson. So yes, I do have a student. He just culminated last week. So I am very interested in this presentation about the strategies and tips for what to expect, me as a parent and also my own child when it comes to the transition to middle school. So with that, we're going to start with our inclusion activity. So parents, thank you for being with us this afternoon. I want you to think about in our inclusion activity, take a moment and think about what concerns that you might have for your child, or what do you think might excite your child about going to middle school this fall. Might it be, number one, getting to know more than one teacher? Or might it be number two, how large the school might be, getting to class or getting lost? Might that be a concern? Or the idea of being in a new campus and with so many new faces, having to get to know new friends? Or the extracurricular activities, the different clubs that will be offered, such as cheerleading, dance, art, or sports? Or might the responsibility of having more than one class be a concern or be something to be excited about? As well as the idea that you get to now interact with older students, because middle school is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Or the idea, might you be excited about having the electives, which is something different for middle school that is not in elementary, where you get to have a choice on what type of class that you would like. So please include this in the Q&A or the chat, the number that you think that you or your child might be excited or concerned about with the transition going to middle school. So I see some ones. I can tell you for myself, I am I'll give you one of each. I am concerned about the large school that my son now has to go to, because he was at a small elementary. So that's a number 2 for me. And then I am also actually excited for him about having the choice of the electives, because I know he has a lot of interest, and so I believe he'll find that very, very exciting to be able to choose something. So I see that we're getting a lot in the chat. We have a lot of we have some 3s and a 5, a 6, a 4 and a 5. Excellent. A 2. So I'd like to say thank you very much for sharing with us about what you think that your child might be excited about or having concern with going into the transition for middle school. We're going to continue on with our presentation, where we're going to learn more about the different academic, social challenges going on with this transition to middle school. So thank you very much. And now let's move on to the next slide. I would now like to hand it back to my colleague. Go ahead, take it away, Ms. Monson.
Thank you, Alex. So as you saw, there are many, many things, right, to be excited or concerned about, and not just for the children, but for you parents. I am sure that you feel similarly than your child does. And just letting you know that these school transitions are very important, right? And we know that research says that middle grades experiences are very important, right? What happens in the middle, in middle school, is very important. It does correlate or correlate to what happens in high school, right? We want to make sure that they have a great middle school experience, because this will definitely impact high school, right? Whether they graduate or not, or whether they have a better experience at the high school level. So we want to make sure that this in-between transition that is happening, right? And so that you can help them along, that we can support you in that process, and that we don't lose sight, right? That it is in the middle, yes, but it is very, very important for your children to be supported in that transition. Let's not leave it up to chance, right? Let's not leave it up to chance that they will be okay in middle school, because we know that they will need you. They still need you. They will be your children forever, actually, right? They always need us. But in particular, in that middle school transition, it is important to set the tone and the pace so that they can then do even better in high school, right? We don't want to lose sight of that. This is a time when they are learning and they are getting themselves on the right track. So what happens, right, in the mind of a middle schooler? I was reading this and I'm like, oh, I forgot about all this, right? Many of these things, I am not coming or working directly with middle schoolers, but this is true, right? Middle school students typically have an attention span of 10 to 12 minutes. Think about what that means, right? That would mean that it is important for us to chunk for teachers, obviously, and for us to know what they can and cannot do, right? So if they have an attention span of 10, 12 minutes, and you can experience this at home, I'm sure, right? They do something and then they forget, or you have to come back and remind them, right? So we knowing this, we have to make sure that we know this so that then we can better support them. Brain growth that occurs between the ages of 10 to 15 is the second greatest in human life. This is very important, right? So we know that they're going through this physical, cognitive, emotional transitions in this particular time when they are in middle school. So it's not an easy time for many of our students, and we want to make sure that we know what it is that they need so that we can better support them. Now, teens in this time learn best through interaction, and we know that we know that, right? Teachers know that, staff know that, you know that. So that's why it's very important that we interact. If we want them to learn, it has to be in a way where interaction occurs so that they can better learn. Adolescents misinterpret, this was very interesting to me. Adolescents misinterpret emotional and instructions up to 40% of the time. Wow. So it is very important that we are clear and direct and repeat and ensure that our messages are heard, right? And that we ensure that they understood the messages, because there could be some interpretation, and that's a natural thing. It is important to know, because if this happens and occurs naturally, we have to be aware of it, right? So that we can better support. That's why we have to reiterate, repeat, and ensure that our instructions, our information is repeated so that they can and ensure that they have understood it. Now, middle schoolers retain 5 to 7 bits of information, similarly to the first one, right? Again, we want to chunk the information. We want to go back and forth. We want to have that interaction. And adolescents, oh, we know this one already. Adolescents need 9 or more hours of sleep per night to function best. So this is one of the areas that you parents can start supporting, right? Your child, ensuring that they get a good night's sleep, because otherwise, if they don't, that'll impact their learning at school the following day, right? And this happens more so than ever than at any other time, beginning in middle school, in those tweens and teen years. So again, we want to make sure that these are some of the items that we know about them, right? So that then we can better support and work with the school, right? So we are going to move on to some other information, additional information. And one of those is how we transition. Some of the transitions that they will experience. One of them is the procedural transition. So Senora Elorza will help us with this, will give us her information and experience about transitions of procedural transitions and what her advice might be to us. So again, remember, there are various transitions. One of them is a procedural. There are new expectations. We want them to be more independent and get more responsibility, right? We're helping them move along. There might be some expectations and procedures and rules that are new for them in middle school, such as the ones we said earlier, getting to and from classes, organizing and keeping materials for multiple classes, being responsible for all classwork. And now it's not just one class, but many more, right? So what are those specific rules that we want them to know, right? It might be different from what the elementary that they attended. And they might have been at the same elementary for what, 5 years, 6 years, right? And now something new is in the horizon for them. We want to make sure that they know all the different expectations, the specific presentations and procedures and rules, so that they can have a better time in middle school. Señora Elorza, you want to help us give us some advice about your experience with as your child went from elementary to middle school?
Intermedia. Ajá. Buenas tardes a todos. Gracias por estar aquí.
Good afternoon to you all. Thank you for being here. My name is Rocio Elorza, and as Ms. Monson mentioned, there are different type of transition, procedural transition elements like academic, etc. But specifically, as they mentioned, some of the expectations are when they move from class to class, or getting to and from classes, that transition of and being worried about maybe not to arrive late, or maybe I forgot my locker number. I believe they have a lot of questions in their mind, and I truly want to invite you to listen to them before the school year start, because it's important for you to keep them or reassure them that everything will be fine, how things are going to be with their teachers, being responsible that they have to carry with them since the elementary level. Sometimes we even have to help them all the way to until they are in college. But one of the major anxiety that our children face is when they move from one class to another one, getting from to and from a class, and they not just go through social and academic, emotions, but they're adolescents. So we have to be aware and make sure to reassure them that they will always have help and could reach for help, and we're there to help them as well. Academic transition. New concepts like GPA, credits, courses, periods, letter grades, keeping up with materials, study habits, having good grades, manage time, completing homework assignments, extracurricular activities, and clubs. As we have seen at the beginning, the inclusion activity that we had, many of us put several numbers, and that academic transition, even for us, having our children for the first time in that at that level, it gives us, we have to be aware of those transitions. We go through transitions. It's important for us to be aware of the different materials that they require to study habits is quite important. And because we are three together, student, parents, and the school, teachers, and we're not going to be there pushing them from one classroom to another. No, however, we have to ask them to give them more support in the best way, possible way in this, academic transition. Also, the effects of procedural and social transition impact students' academic performance. And it's been mentioned, it impacts them academically and socially. Multiple teachers. I believe that under that transition, for us, things are difficult as well. At the elementary level, we only get to know one teacher and possibly maybe the coordinator, but right now there are three more teachers, one counselor, a coordinator, and we have to be aware. Each teacher has its own rules, and that each teacher teaches in a different way, different manner, grades differently, teaches differently, and at the same level, same way that the teachers um, teach at the different levels. They're also very diverse in their styles. Make sure you get each teacher's, I mean, it's important to understand their rules and their expectations, because each teacher has a syllabus or list of rules and expectations at the beginning of the year. It's important if you could request, maybe through a sheet of paper, Mr. So-and-so, my name is such and such. I'm the parent of this student, and I just want to let you know that you can count on with me in anything related to my child's success. I think if we help them with this transition, they will feel safer, more secure. I believe that it would be benefit, maybe not to all the teachers, but to keep this type of conversation with our teachers. Also, keep a copy of your records, and your child can keep one in their binder or folder for that teacher's class. So for what's been given from the beginning, maybe what period they're at, what teacher is that binder about. So maybe we can keep a record, because what if they let us know that our kid didn't arrive on time, it was late. So well, that's it for on my side. Thank you.
For sharing with us your experience about and advice, right? In how to support a child who is new to middle school. I just wanted to say that with this presentation, I said, well, they might not have a binder or folder anymore as much, but we know that they have e-files, e-binders, everything is virtual now, most of things, but the advice remains, right? Let's make sure that we are in touch with what is happening with your child, that you know exactly what his or her classes are, that you are in communication, as Senora Elorza said, communication from the very, very beginning with his or her child to support them. So that's excellent advice, Senora Elorza. Thank you so much. So there are other types of transitions, such as a social transition, right? Now, remember, they're meeting new teachers, administrators, staff. They're meeting new peers, right? Remember, they were maybe in the same elementary for 5, 6 years, and now they have new peers, new classmates that come from the different schools, right? They are building new friendships, they're maintaining friendships, they're anxious about building relationships, not just with their peers, but also with the teachers. And obviously there might be, for some of them, some anxiety, right, about interactions with older students. So those are, remember, peer relationships, especially beginning with our adolescents, right? Peer relationships may be especially important during the transition from elementary to middle school. We know that that's very important. Sometimes what a parent might say, what an adult might say is not as important to them, but what their peers think and what they say. So we want to make sure that we keep that line of communication with our child about how they're doing in school. Peer rejection and unpopularity had a significant effect on young adolescents' GPA. Again, if these transitions are not successful, right, or don't go as well as they should, then that might affect your child's academic progress. And that's what we want to ensure, that they do make that progress. So the social emotional component, right, of these transitions is very important, especially now. We know that we are coming out of a pandemic. We know that the social emotional component is in the limelight, right? Now we know how important it is. Maybe we know it was important. We always know it was important, right? But now it's in the forefront, because we know that our children were isolated, there was some learning loss, and we want to bring them up to a place where they know that they can flourish and they can blossom. And this especially as they transition to middle school. So Senora Daisy Ortiz is going to give us some information about her experience and her thoughts and advice around the social emotional component and transition of children. Senora Daisy.
Muchas gracias, señora Monson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Monson, for the opportunity that you're giving me to be here with a great parent group. First of all, I want to commend all of you who are in this meeting. It's a big pleasure to be able to share our experiences, in particular what's emotional, which is very important, as well as the academic aspect. But what comes first? If a child isn't happy and is undergoing through a lot of stress or is sad, may not be able to learn. So more than any other time, now we have to be the psychologists, the support that our children require. And as Ms. Olorza just mentioned, by listening, it's important. And how can we get that? Asking them, how do you feel? And validate what they said. If they said, well, I'm nervous because it's a new school, it's a large school, or maybe I'll have no friends, or I'm afraid that I may not arrive on time to my different classes. Maybe I'll get lost. And of course, we have to just tell them, yeah, I went through the same, and express them that we have empathy with them, for them not to feel that they're not courageous, and not to feel embarrassed of their feelings. Emotions is a natural thing in life. We are human beings. And as a parent, what I have used, and I've used it a lot, well, specifically when we were confined through COVID, in my home, I mentioned is to have a soul clinic, meaning twice or three times a month as a family. We gave each other support by expressing how we were feeling. Um, and it was like if we were in a support group, because as a family, we have to support each other from the youngest to the oldest. Why not to the eldest? Uh, there are many things that they might be experimenting emotionally. We have two ears and one mouth, meaning we should speak less and listen to them more. With that soul clinic, it helped me by practicing that to think not just like a mom. I was willing to listen what any family member wanted to express. If they were being successful, okay, I would celebrate that. If they wanted support, I try to give the support by trying to um, put myself in their shoes, validating. Oh yes, well, yeah, okay. I have something similar, and this is what I did in that respect. And one more thing, in a middle school, we do have counselors, so we need to find our allies within the school, because our children, while going through middle school, they're growing, their bodies change, their way of thinking also, so their emotions are going up and down like a roller coaster. So it's important for us to listen, even though we may not like what we can hear from them. Let's breathe, deeply breathe, and don't get defensive or, um, scold them or anything. We can increase their anxiety. Maybe we could think, oh, maybe who can we look for support? Maybe if I'm a single mother, I ask for help to one of the teachers or counselors. We are a team. It's never bad to ask for help. I am, a single mother. I don't know what to do with the different changes that my male child is going through. Or maybe I'm antiquating my thoughts in my family. Nobody talk about sex, but maybe I should talk with a counselor. She could help me on how to talk about those things, those issues. But it's important for us to be at the center um, e- in their lives, for them to be able to count on us, asking them, how can I help you? Which manner do you think could be helpful for you, and not just keep always telling them you have to do this, that, and this and that. We have to be counselors, psychologists, to be those ready to support in everything, academically, and but more so emotionally, because our children are at a change um, a time moment, eh, eh, as far as their age. So their emotions are, very up and, always constantly changing. What helped me, I used to go to the different walks that or academic trips, and I would go and talk to him and ask him about it. No, how did you feel about this academic trip? With her, actually, it helped me to go to those school trips. Also, by telling her, you're a grown young lady, and your responsibilities will change, but you can, I know you can, the sky is the limit. Our words will always help them to fly high. We can always tell them the sky is the limit. Uh, I used to tell my daughter to write her goals. What would you like to achieve? What are your responsibilities or responsibility, and in which one would you like me to help you? I have a daughter, and an intelligent woman asks and looks for help. And even an intelligent woman make mistakes, but you are an intelligent woman, and you move ahead in life. And if all the roads will
Thank you, Señora Daisy, for
load,
that. I
will
love to
help
see
you.
Señora Daisy.
Um,
She is super, super knowledgeable. Her experiences, I always learn from her. I have told her that, right? So she's gonna continue because I think this is also her slide. So, Señora Daisy, please continue.
Sí, sí.
yes,
Como está aquí, dice que hay que
as it says here, we have to
monitorear y
support,
advogue.
monitor, and
Apoyar,
advocate.
pues tenemos
As
que
far as
saber cómo
supporting,
podemos
we have to
apoyarlos en sus
see how can
necesidades
we
físicas,
support
emocionales,
in their basic and
en la
emotional needs,
casa y en el
supported
lugar
their
escolar.
schoolwork at
Siempre
home.
debe haber ese apoyo, un lugar
In our
donde los niños
homes,
se sientan que eso
we
es lo
should
que
give
los
them
va a
that support
realizar.
where they can feel
Y
that our
sabemos
homes
que nosotros
is
somos eso
an
para ellos.
learning
Y
environment. And
sabemos que
also
su
if we
hijo
can
está leyendo
model that
o
to
está
them.
haciendo la
If
tarea,
they're
pues tiene que
reading or
haber
doing
ese
their
apoyo.
homework, I'll have to turn off my cell
La
phone,
radio y poder estar
TV,
haciendo.
radio,
Para mí es
and start doing
importante
something, for
que
myself. For me, it's
sus
important for
hijos
her
apoyar.
to see me,
No tener
to
la
model for her.
preocupación de que después
Monitor,
la
maintain
escuela
communication with school
tener
to obtain
retroalimentación sobre
feedback
el desempeño
about
académico y
academic,
social. Es
social,
muy
and academic and
importante
social
eso.
performance.
No
It's
mire
quite
mucho la
important for
escuela
us
porque ellos
not to
saben
just
lo que
look at
van a
this,
hacer. No,
not
porque
just
también
to
la escuela nos
think about the
necesita.
school. Oh, they know what
En
to
la
do.
casa nuestros
No,
niños
the school
son
needs
jóvenes,
us
pero en la escuela
also
también es importante
because
tener
our
juntas,
kids
tener esa
behave
comunicación para
in
que
one way
ellos
at
sepan que
home
me
and at
quieren
the school in a
escuchar
different way
y
sometimes.
apoyar.
So it's
Y
important
como
to keep the
aprende,
communication
es muy
open with the
importante porque
school,
un niño
so to help our
aprende
kids.
haciendo
Now,
práctica,
how do they
repetición,
learn?
visual,
Through doing
auditivo.
practice,
Eso es como un niño
repetitions,
aprende, saber su
um,
fortaleza y
and
saber
knowing
cuando su
which
niño se está
are
comunicando
their
o está debatiendo con sus
most
compañeros. Muy
important
tímido, tal vez
strengths, no?
tímido.
Auditory,
Entonces,
kinesthetic,
ya
etc. And
¿qué vamos
also,
a hacer para romper ese
why
estereotipo?
is
Porque
he
la
or she
escuela les
so
ayuda
timid
a mejorar.
uh,
No es
or
abogada,
shy?
quédate con la
That
escuela
may
para
not
resolver
be
problemas
helping
cuando
him or
sea
her.
necesario.
And
Es muy
advocate,
importante que
it's
nosotros
important to
sepamos de que
for
la
us
escuela
to know that
no es
the
una
school
rumba de ir a
isn't
pelear, es de
just
ir
a place
a
to go and
comunicar,
fight
a
with
poner
them.
las cosas sobre la
No, it's
mesa
to
y a
communicate,
dialogar.
to put
El
things on the
diálogo es
table,
crear
and to start a
equipos,
dialogue.
trabajar
By
juntos
dialogue,
o roles
di through
responsabilidades
dialogue, we
compartidas.
can
¿Ok? Porque no
understand what
podemos
are
solo ir a decirle al
our
maestro, es que tú tienes
shared
que hacer esto.
responsibilities. We cannot
Porque
just tell the
yo me
teacher,
pongo en los zapatos de que lleguen a mi
you're the
casa y me
ones
digan, es
that
que tú no cocinas bien, ya no quiero comida.
should be teaching
Entonces,
well.
¿cuál es el maestro?
But
Tenemos que
it's like
aprender
coming
es
someone to
que
my home and
no es
tell them, oh, you don't
forzarlos,
cook well, then I'll
nuestro
stop
enemigo.
cooking for them.
Podemos ayudar a nuestro
It's important for them to
estudiante
feel that we're their
le puede dar
allies, not their enemies. We can go with a good tone of voice and ask them, I would like if you could share with me what strategies I could use at home to help my kids. And also our responsibilities as parents is that possibly we can set up a specific schedule for my child to do their homework. That has to do with empowerment, where we can help our kids through different guides. Be aware that they're growing and be aware how do they be aware of their GPAs, the credits they need, the courses offer, electives, etc. If our child is, we can tell that he is very artistic. We could be, suggesting there are some art classes. Maybe you should be taking one. Also, extracurricular activities. As my daughter got involved in government and everything related to leadership in their school council. She got involved, and our children are truly bright, and they have plenty to give to us. Thank you, Ms. Monson.
Thank you, Senora Daisy. As I said, we can hear her more, right? But we have 1 hour, unfortunately, but there will be other opportunities that she will be able to share with us all her knowledge, experience, and that serves us well also to learn. So we're going to continue, right? She has talked about all these important items, areas that we should support our children in. And I am going to tell you about one way to keep in the loop, to stay in the loop, and to have that connection with the school, right? And one of the ways to do that is to ensure you have your parent portal account. So I hope that everyone here that is listening to us has a parent portal account. And if you don't, that's okay. We can support you. Your school can support you. But this is a tool, and I have to say that we know that the new parent portal application app is coming up, and I believe in August or so we will have the new parent portal app, which will make it a lot easier for you to stay informed about your child's attendance and grades and how and a lot more, and how to communicate with. It'll make it easier for you to communicate with school staff and teachers. So we're very excited about the parent portal and the new app, parent portal app, that is coming up. So please stay tuned. But again, you still have to create a parent portal account. So I hope you do if you haven't. But again, stay in the loop. Know what is happening with your child. Be in the know by having a parent portal account, by navigating Schoology for parents, by going to your school's website. This is a great source of information, right? If you haven't done so. Know the school. There's a lot of information in the school's website that you can access at any time, right? To stay again informed and know what is happening, in that way for your child too. And of course, you can become a volunteer. Being a volunteer is a very important way to be there with your child, to support the school. Although when you're a volunteer, you're a school volunteer, not necessarily with your child, right? But you can then set an example and model and support other students, right, at your school site. Remember, we are a community of learners. You are part of the community. Being a volunteer, it's an important experience that you can model for your child too. So again, we hope that you take advantage of these tools and services and programs that we have, so that you can support your child as he or she transitions to middle school, from elementary to middle school. So Mr. Campbell will give us some information now about supporting our children who have IEPs. Mr. Campbell?
Thank you, Ms. Monson. So parents, it is very important to know if you have a student with an IEP and you're transitioning to middle school, be aware that middle school, as we've discussed, is a little different than elementary. So here are some several tips to help you get yourself and your child better acclimated to their new surroundings regarding their IEP. So first off, be aware that there's a more of a workload that your child will be responsible for in middle school, and front load this information to your child. So share this with your child, let them know. Also, it is a good opportunity, and I say this for students with IEPs as well as students without IEPs, to meet your administration as well as to meet your teachers. For a student with an IEP, please introduce yourself to the special ed administrator, and please discuss your child's IEP goals with your teachers. It's also very important after you have introduced yourself to your teachers that you keep that line of communication open throughout the school year. This is a good strategy for all parents, as well as and particularly parents with IEPs. Next slide, please. Parents, please remember that with your student that has an IEP, when they are transitioning to middle school, please don't forget about the strategies that you used in elementary school that worked for you, and see if you can duplicate that when it comes time to when they start middle school. Good strategies also are to visit the campus. A lot of times we have a lot of anxiety. All students, as well as students with IEPs, have a lot of anxiety regarding their new surroundings. So if you give them an opportunity to see where they're going, to get used to what their new school will be like, that can help them out, and so that they won't feel as nervous when it's time to start the school. In order to help set your child up for success, I recommend these strategies for actually all students. All students, it is a good strategy to get organized, a way to organize yourself, because you'll now have more classes than before. So you can use a color-coded system with your folders. For example, you can have a red notebook or a blue notebook, and let that be blue can be for English language arts, and the red can be for math. You can have a green notebook for science. This will help you get organized, so you'll have you would be able to better prepare for your class at that time. Also, try to help your child establish a homework routine. It is very important because they will be getting a lot more homework in middle school than in elementary. So starting early and giving them strategies to help with this routine will allow them to have success throughout the year. And I also like, I'm gonna have my colleague, Ms. Ortiz, and I'd like her to share any additional strategies and tips for our parents. Ms. Ortiz?
Muchísimas gracias, señor Javier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Campbell. I guess I'm a mother that has a child with an IEP. And what I can advise, as you just, remark, it's important to speak with our child about the middle school, and to listen, what they think about it. But also, prior to the IEP, before the transition, we have to, in our last IEP, in the elementary, I guess, we have to write which IEP, which school is my child will be going to. It's quite important to take note of that, because this is an individualized plan, and our child would have several teachers. And right now, our children are just at the elementary, usually in a general class. Depending what cases our children could have, there is a structural reading program, as an example, for children that have specific, reading problems or dyslexia. But it's only a new program with 12 children. But with certain classes like PE, etc., some of these children can attend with all the other children, but there's some specific classes too to support their learning. But it's important, of course, to get to know who's the special ed coordinator, the support personnel, specifically in those small groups. It's important for us to get to know them, to be able to know that they're receiving the right accommodations. And of course, be prepared for our children to succeed, because by having a condition doesn't mean they are limited. Our children need to have the right accommodation, the proper ones, and to receive those on time. So as a parent with a child that has an IEP, that's what I can advise you. Children with an IEP require this additional support. All our children require, but our special needs, our unique needs, it takes them a little bit longer to learn. So we have to work a little closer with them to help them become independent, and also to teach them to be independent, because they're going to become adults, responsible and successful, because yes, they can. Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. So families, I want us to remember that as we go through this process, as we go through schooling, and we are talking about the transition, and as your child will go on in schooling, please know that these strategies and tips that we give out are just that, and they will look different depending on your child. Our students develop at different rates. So a strategy that might work well for one student might not work so well for another student. I can tell you in particular, I have my own two children, and this is very true, that they develop at their own rates, and I have to treat them individually. I have to personalize their environment for them in order for them to succeed. I have one child who is a visual learner, and I have to model for him quite a bit in order for him to have some success. Conversely, I have another child who is an auditory learner. She does very well at picking up things by just hearing it, and doesn't have to see the model, or has to see less of a model in order to get the idea. So please remember, as we go through this process, that our children develop at different rates, and that's okay. And we have to do best, like the other parents talked about, as in personalizing their space in order to provide them room for them to explore, so they can be successful as they move on and develop and get older into this new part of their life, which is middle school. Next slide, please. So everybody, before I continue, I want to ask Ms. Monson, how are we doing on time?
We're good, Alex.
Okay.
Continue.
So what we have here is we have getting ready for middle school. So what we did, and we have picked 3 different videos. It is a series on YouTube, and the title is called Getting Ready for Middle School. And we have not placed the links here for you, but we're letting you know that this is something that you can search on YouTube. The title again is called Getting Ready for Middle School. It's part 1, part 2, and part 3. And what we also like to make you aware of is videos like this. We will be creating a virtual space for links that you can find for our tech talks and more, where we will provide you one link and you'll be able to go to and find the different links that we've offered throughout our different tech talk series, our workshops. So at a later time, we'll be providing this for you. But until then, I'm gonna let you know, feel free to do a YouTube search yourself for the Getting Ready for Middle School in the subject line. The series has 3 parts. And what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take a brief look at part 2, which is titled The School Day. We're gonna look at what middle schoolers say about the difference with getting additional homework, as in when they came to middle school versus elementary. So we're gonna take a brief look at this part of the video. We're going to start on around 2 minutes and 13 seconds. Right there.
Adjust to their teaching styles. I don't want to talk about it. In elementary school, I got like no homework. It's the best thing ever. Then I came here.
You have a homework from pretty much every single class rather than getting like one sheet of paper.
And the content is a little harder, but really you get used to it. Elementary school, it was like focusing on one topic that day, and then you'd have to do that homework topic. But this, it's homework every class, but you just kind of have to learn to get a schedule going and maintain it.
They ease you into the work. Like we have like expert teachers that will like help you with it in like 5 minutes, and like you'll know it right away.
Not all your teachers will give you homework, but usually you have a little bit every night, and then sometimes you have a lot more than you expect. But if you don't do your homework, it's not a good thing, because doing your homework really relates to what you're doing in class, and teachers like grade your homework. So if you don't turn it in or even try, it's gonna hurt your grade.
If you work hard, like you won't be behind or anything. Just like you just have to keep up. You just gotta do it the night you're supposed to and don't procrastinate. Everyone in school is given a planner, and you're supposed to write in it every day for every class period. And it's actually checked by certain teachers just to know you're getting everything written down and you know what to do for homework.
So each period we write about our learning targets. Our learning targets is what we're going to do for the day and how we're going to achieve that goal.
It's actually really helpful, because if you write down what you need to do, like your homework each night, the assignments that you learned, and you like forget all about your homework, but you know that you have homework, you can look at what you wrote down. So if you just stay organized, it works out pretty well.
Thank you very much, Ms. Monson. And I can tell you, parents, that the transition with the amount of homework one has in elementary versus middle school is something that a lot of middle schoolers have talked about. And that is why I wanted to show you that clip. And it's something that you can share with your own child to help prepare them. And I like the tips that they said was to write it down. I think that is an excellent strategy to write your homework down, or to have it somewhere where you can access what it is, what you're required to do. I know that we're in a virtual space, and so they might be able to go on Schoology and be able to read what is available to them. If not, writing it down is an excellent strategy. It helps them stay organized. So with that, I would like to remind each of you that these videos from YouTube are not LA Unified Schools. They're just a sample of what some students said regarding middle school. Feel free to take a look at them at your own leisure, and know that our schools were not depicted. They were not our students, but they are students who are in middle school currently. With that, we're going to go on to the next slide. Ms. Monson, I'll hand it back off to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Campbell, for all that information and giving us your experience and your expectations and maybe your concerns, right, about your child going into middle school. I know that, I'm not sure, is he looking forward to it? Have you discussed that with him? Because this is a question we have for parents now, right? What steps have you taken to support your child in their transition to middle school? So let us know in the chat. One, I know what middle school my child will attend. You're ready with that, right? You're set. You and your child are set knowing what school you will attend. Two, my child and I have visited or plan to visit his or her new school. Or three, I have had conversations with my child about going to middle school, right? So you have sat down and maybe discussed some of the same concerns and excitement that they might, that they have, right, with together. So hopefully in number three. Number four, I have visited my child's new school's website. And I did say, right, that a school website gives you a lot of information about the school your child will attend. So what have you done? Please let us know in the chat, 1, 2, 3, or 4, what it is that you might have already done or are planning to do with your child, 1 and 4, right? You know what middle school your child is attending. And you also know 4 that you have visited the school website. Excellent, excellent. Number 2, my child and I have visited or plan to visit. Very good. Oh, wow, all 4 of them. Thank you so much. That's important information. It's never too early. I know we are in summer break, and in frame of mind that it is summer, but we need to start getting them ready, right? August will be here sooner than we think, and we want to ensure and help you along in preparing for this very important transition for your child. So thank you so much for participating in our little survey here, right? And we hope that if you haven't, that you take the time to visit the website, to plan and be aware if the school is having open house, right? For incoming sixth graders, they usually have those. So of course, be aware of all that. And again, the most important thing is to communicate with your child. Keeping those lines of communication is very, very important. As we heard today with Senora Daisy, right? We have to validate what they say, their feelings, their thinking, their concerns, even their excitement, right? We have to validate what they say, because that is our job as adults, to ensure that they have successful transitions. So with that, let me go to the Q&A, but I'm not sure if there are any questions and questions coming up. Not necessarily. Okay, I don't see any, but if you have any questions, remember, you can ask us in the Q&A or in the chat at this moment. But if not, and just because of time, let me go straight into the next part, and that's just to invite you tomorrow. There will be a digital citizenship and cyberbullying parent workshop tomorrow, the 16th. And you might not receive a general text message like we usually do for this particular workshop. So please take the time right now to take a screenshot, take a picture of this flyer. It might be in your communities of schools website. I believe that that's where you will find it, so that you can attend and become familiarized with this very important topic to support our children, right? We know that this is real. Cyberbullying is real, and it affects our children. And it's now thinking about the ones going into middle school, right? And how their peers thinking and whether they are rejected or accepted at the middle school by their peers. That is what that is most important for them, right? So we want to ensure we learn about this very important topic. And we also want to invite you for next Wednesday when yes, Mr. Campbell.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to let the parents know with our workshop tomorrow, it is at a different time. It's at 2 o'clock. The workshop time tomorrow is 2 o'clock. So we hope to see you there. A very important topic. With the amount of screen time that our children are now on with the hotspots and the devices that our district is passing out, it is important also to have your children be online safely. So we're providing this workshop, and we want as many parents to attend it, and we'll see you tomorrow, and it's at 2 o'clock. So thank you very much, Ms. Monson.
Yes, thank you for that reminder, Alex, right? As you well know, parents at the district is providing free computers and hotspots for all of our students. And you will get that information, and you are being informed. Many of you might have already gone and picked up those devices at the communities of schools or at the local district central office. And so this is the perfect topic, right? As Mr. Campbell said. So let me just go to the next. And again, we are going to be here next Wednesday when we'll discuss a little bit more about the transition from middle school to high school. And it'll be at the same time, 3:30 on a Wednesday. So again, Summer of Learning is starting next Wednesday also, right? The same day of our Tech Talks. So we hope that if you're interested in having your child take a course, a class, or more than one in Summer of Learning, that you have already filled your application, and this is the place where you would go to learn more and complete those applications for Summer of Learning. And also that in that same page, in the Summer of Learning web page, at the bottom, scroll all the way to the bottom, because it has important information about other activities that you might want to engage in with your child, with the family, right, during this summer. So again, scroll all the way down on this page of Summer of Learning to learn about these other activities that you may do as a family. So I believe we have come to the end of our time. I don't, the question in the chat, it has to do about uniforms. And again, please consult your child's school or coming up school, the school that they were going to attend, so that then you will know about that specific information. So thank you so much for being here today. We hope you can join us next Wednesday. And we wish you a wonderful summer of learning for most of our kids, right? And every day is a learning experience though. And it's the best thing when you learn as a family. I wanna say thank you. I'm gonna stop share. And I wanna thank Senora Daisy, Senora Elorza, Alex, our guest parents this afternoon. Thank you so much. I want to thank our team and our interpreter for being here and supporting us. We couldn't do this without them. So you see Ms. Lomeli, Elizabeth, our PACE coaches, and we have Mr. Contreras and Senora Daisy, thank you, and Ms. Amant, Saint Amant, also here with us. So we are so happy that you joined us today, and I'm going to stop because I continue talking forever. So again, we hope you can join us next Wednesday, especially if your child is going to make that transition now from middle school to high school. So have a wonderful afternoon. See you next week.